We're going to tie the TFP high-vis spent caddis. This is on a 1XL long standard dry fly hook. Well, not standard because it's 1XL long, so it's on a 1XL long dry fly hook.
1X long.
Whatever. And then we have some Sexy Floss in a copper brown color. You can use whatever color you want. Doesn't really matter, I guess, as long as it looks like whatever caddis you're trying to tie. And then we'll tie that like 2/3 of the way up the hook. Wrap that towards the front here. And this stuff is just going to end up being the little body that sticks out underneath the wing. It looks pretty realistic, so I like using it. And then chop that. The next step is we're going to tie in the post. Right now, is that the next step?
Sure. You need to look at your previous video.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the next step. So we tie in the posts next because this post is what's going to split the wings when we pull it forward.
Kind of the secret.
So you don't want to, one thing with this fly, you don't want to like tie the post too far back because otherwise when you pull it forward it's not actually splitting anything. So I try to not pull it, to tie it in too far back. Then the next step is you're going to have 2 pieces of CDC, one on either side of the post here. So we'll just tie them in on each side. Just like that. And then on this fly we use deer hair, which I think is kind of important because since it's a spent caddis, some of these, it's a coastal deer hair and the deer hair is darker than elk hair, so it looks a little more realistic, and because it's spent caddis, the hair is going to lay fairly flat and probably be touching the water column. So you're going to tie it in just like you would tie a elk hair, same length as you tied the CDC out the back. And then just pull up fibers like a bunch at a time, and ooh, you want to try to pull that stuff out before you do this section, and just make sure all those are tied in really well, and then wrap it off to the front of the hook, and then you can chop all that off. And then we want to wrap all these little pieces down so you have something clean to tie onto.
Cover the butts.
Yep, cover the butts because you are going to dub over this.
The hot, messy butts.
That's the other fly.
Hot, messy butts. And we are going to then use this post that we tied in the beginning to kind of split that coastal deer hair, and then just kind of use your fingers and put the deer hair on both sides before you pull it forward. Like that. You can see that starts to really split the wing. So you're going to tie it, kind of give it some room so that you can build up the head, so that you can still whip finish. So you see there's a little bit of space there still for the whip finish. So tie it off that way, and then you're just going to pull it back like that. And this ends up becoming your post, kind of your high vis post for when you're fishing.
Since it's dark, you need the high vis.
And then the last step, yeah, it's a darker fly, so the high vis helps a lot on this fly. The last step is we're just take some brown spiky squirrel dubbing. She's had a tough time saying that. And cover up the front with a nice spiky dubbing, which looks very caddis-like on the front of the fly. And just wrap it around itself a few times to lock in those fibers, even though they're in loose.
Then you whip it good.
Then you whip it good. I always say a 4-turn whip finish, but it's usually like 6.
6 or 7.
Yeah. And yeah, how does that look over here? And that is the high-vis. Let me just cut a couple of these fibers. High-vis spent TFP caddis. And you can see how those wings are spent way out, and this high-vis post lets you see it really well.
It's money fly.